Welcome, everybody, to the Genesis Project Podcast. Business principles for beginners from the School of Hard Knocks. They say that success leaves clues. In this podcast, we're going to discover the clues that it leaves behind, and we're going to start at the very beginning. We'll get into the weeds of how the guests of the show came up with their business ideas, the why behind their business ideas, how they dealt with setbacks and failures, what keeps them pushing forward, and the emotions behind it all. Everyone wants to start a business, but many are held back by something that keeps them from starting. We'll learn what it takes to get to the next level of business and beyond, and we're learning together through different principles of people who graduated from the School of Hard Knocks. So, grab you a pen, some paper, and a highlighter to take notes, because class is in session. Class, I want you to welcome to the classroom. This guy is literally a brother of mine. We started in the trenches together. I'm happy to see where he has come so far. This dude, his name is, well, we're going to call him Professor Antanaro Stiger, a.k.a. Spike Spielberg. Say what up to the people.
What's going on, peeps? How y'all guys doing out there?
Man, I've been trying to get you on here for so long, man. And I'm happy that your schedule opened up enough for us to actually hook up and get you onto this, into the School of Hard Knocks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just really, really anxious to see what you're going to bring to the class. When we talked on, before I hit the record button, it's been a minute since the last time we talked, and it was an awesome conversation to catch up with you and see everything that you're doing now, besides everything that I'm seeing sort of in the background on social media and all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? So with that being said, man, I want to give you a few minutes for you to sort of introduce yourself to the class and let the class know who you are, what you do, and all that type of good stuff.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate you inviting me over to the Genesis podcast or the School of Hard Knocks, or both. I'm honored to be on this platform, and I'm honored to bring my skill set, experience, ideas, motivation, anything to help the audience out there that's listening. Like I said, like he introduced me as Antanaro Stiger. I do go by Spike Spielberg, and I'll explain why I go through Spike Spielberg in a second. But basically what I do, I have 10 years of IT experience. I've been in the IT world for a very long time. As Bernard stated, we started together in the trenches. My first IT job was Comcast, and if you can make it at Comcast, you can make it. You can make it anywhere.
Ain't that the truth?
But it taught me a bit about patience and customer service, and how those things are super important, especially when you have a business. Even though some customers may not get the best service out here, but it teaches you how to interact with the customer. So not only do I work on computers and build networks and things like that, because it's still my career, about 4 or 5 years ago, I started to experiment with cameras. I'm an artist by heart. Like in my younger years, I used to play the drums, and then my grandmother taught me how to play the organ and piano. And then, as a kid, you start to experience different things. You don't really stick to those things unless it's something you want to do. So I jumped from being a musician to writing poetry, and then I couldn't really express my art that way. And then, like I said, 4 years ago, I started to want to express my art again, and I started to pick up cameras. I started to want to express and show the artistic way from my standpoint, what I see through my eyes. With that came me watching movies a little bit differently than others, like watching how they tell stories, watch how, movies and colors and things kind of psychologically play on the mind a little bit. So ever since then, I started to get good. I started to shoot music videos, which is not film, but it does teach you the basics of camera movement, settings on the camera. It teaches you how to, edit. And real quick tidbit, none of this was taught in a school. I didn't go to school for it. I happen to just put the work in to learn these things over time, and that comes with repetition. They say if you do something a million times, it'll become second nature to you. So throughout the years, I started to really enjoy, and then I started to invest in myself a little bit more. So me and my wife, we started On a Vision Productions. That is a multimedia company. We do provide media services, as far as anywhere from commercial work on down to narrative work, of course, music videos, and such and such and so on. Our target is to get into more of the business side, especially the up and coming businesses, because marketing is key. Like, as far as visuals in this age are super important. So our services is to come to not only provide you quality services, but to also be competitive when it comes to pricing. So with that being said, I took on a persona called Spike Spielberg. Now, if anybody knows those two names, you got Spike Lee, who is a director, and you have Steven Spielberg, who's also a director. Everyone, Spielberg and Spike, are two great directors in the Hollywood sphere. So those are my mentors. Those are the guys that I study. I do study other directors like Martin Scorsese or Quentin Tarantino or Francis Ford Coppola, or it's a few more. The guy from Boys in the Hood, what is his name? He passed away. What is his name? What is his name? Black guy. What is his name?
I don't appreciate you putting me on the spot like that.
I'm just John Singleton. John Singleton, yeah. So like, yeah, how you can forget the brother? I study those greats to see where they started and where they're at now. Everybody knows that Steven Spielberg did, if I'm correct, and if the listeners out there can correct me, he did do The Color Purple. If I'm not correct, he did do that. He did direct that movie. So throughout the years, I started to hone my skills. One of the things about business I had to learn really quickly is that you're going to be in the red first. You're going to have to you got to get your meat and potatoes in. You got to put the groundwork in, the dirty stuff, the things that people don't want to do. Some days you don't want to do it, but you have to. In order to succeed, you have to put the time in. And that's including working, having a family, and running a business. So you have 24 hours in a day. If you break that 24 hours in 3 sectors, that's 8 hours. So each 8 hours you have, now mind you still have to sleep. So I had to start kind of shuffling around my schedule so I can stay on top of things and put the work in. So IT helped with that. IT forces you to research things. IT guys are bright. We know it all.
Yeah.
That's the notation. We have the easy button. We make everything work. But in the reality of things is that we do the research. We go and look up, we read forums, we go find documentation, we create our own documentation.
Right.
So my thing was being more not afraid to be curious about the next level. You know what I'm saying? Or how to get there.
I'm glad you brought that up, because one of my questions that I was pretty much dying to ask you was, did you feel like IT helped you with you starting your production company?
Indeed, it did. And I'll say why it did. I'm a techie by heart.
Right.
So in IT, you're forced to learn. It's constant learning.
Right.
So it forced me to not only learn the business side of multimedia, because a lot of people don't see the business side of multimedia. Media production has a business side too. Yeah. It's not fluff that you see on TV. There's budgets, there's permits, there's different things you have to accumulate, or you have to accommodate, I would say, to get to the goal. So IT helped me a lot because, again, IT forces the curiosity. It forces you to go look into the unknown.
Right.
And most IT guys, they don't lead blindly, but they try to go in, they dive in head first on a problem to kind of figure it out on the go. Because it's like you're thrown in there with the wolves.
Right.
You learn better. I have a slogan all the time. I say, there's two of them. Every manager used to ask me in IT, well, what is so special about you? Well, I learn on the fly. If you throw me in there with the wolves, I'll learn how to eat with them.
Yeah.
I'll learn how to survive with them. And also, my slogan for On the Vision is life behind the lens. We believe bringing things to life, but doing it behind the lens in a more authentic way. So yeah, IT played a key role. Like and it still plays a key role to the day, because guess what? I don't have to pay someone to build me a machine. I don't have to pay someone to give me a laptop, work on a computer, solve a computer issue, install hardware. I don't have to do that. I can do it myself.
Right. Right.
It forces me to take, for example, this camera, and this is a Canon 80D, which was my workhorse for years. Really good photography camera, and it allowed me to take this camera and learn every bit, feature, everything about this camera I had to learn through that. So IT assisted in that. Without IT, I probably wouldn't be ahead of the game starting out where I was. I wouldn't have been ahead of the pack like that. I would have still been kind of learning things as they go, but IT sped that up.
I will say this, that coming from, and I used to play sports, right? And coming from a athletic background, I'll just come out and say, so having the opportunity to play in the CFL and playing just sports in general for so many years, it helped me to understand strategy, understand things on the fly, and things of that nature. So for me, sort of going into the IT field helped me because it was a lot of analytical thinking. Analytical thinking was for me, for my position in football, it was necessary for me to use that analytical thinking in the IT. And it's still useful for me using this analytical thinking for the businesses that I'm doing, this podcast, the tech business, and everything like that. So it's good to know that you started branching off from the IT field to actually start this production company. But with that being said, is that pretty much how you sort of fell into the video production, just straight from IT, or was it something that kind of pushed you over there?
Yes and no. No, I would say no. It didn't push me in there. I started, and this is the conversation we used to have at Comcast.
Yeah.
They say you have like 7 different revenues of income streams.
Yeah.
So have 7, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, IT is going to pay the bills, right? But what happens when you want to retire from IT? What happens when you want to pick up another skill set? I'm not the one to get complacent in the situation I'm in. Like, I'm always looking for the next challenge.
Yeah.
Filmmaking is a challenge. It's not easy. Like, I've yet to produce my first film. I have a short series that I'm working on right now. Actually, I have 2 episodes that are out, and due to Corona and weather, 3rd episode can't be released yet. But hey, as long as there's a process, slow process is better than no process at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So filmmaking is very challenging. It's not like we look at the glitz and the glamour and we look at the finished product and say, man, this looks sweet. I know they didn't work too hard on that. At least the average person may not think that,
Yeah.
So it didn't push me into that, but I was looking for the next challenge. I could have went into programming. I could have stayed within IT because programming is definitely very challenging. Being that you got to write code and stuff, but then I wanted to branch off from something totally different.
Right.
Now, both of those are 2 different industries. You got media and you got information technology. Well, what is the one thing that kind of gels those 2 together? Well, you think about tech, computers, network arrays, routers, switches, those things, because you got to hold the media there. And the other thing, which is the most important in IT, is the planning part. Like, the infrastructure, how to build it out. Okay, we have an idea, because everything starts from a concept. Everything starts from the concept and then it works its way down. Okay, I have an idea about like for example, Corona is having a really serious problem on people, right? I'm working on a project right now that I'm writing and getting the plots out and everything about the effects of, you know, being in the house 24/7 and, you know, not being able to get out to interact with people. That kind of has an effect on folks. So IT and filming are joined because you have to plan.
Yeah.
In IT, you have to plan for the infrastructure. You got to plan for the number of users. You have to plan for the number of servers. How many licenses you need? Okay, how many licenses I need? Okay, cybersecurity. Those things have to be thought out. Well, in film, it's kind of the same way. You start off with the concept, then you start branching off into character analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Then you start branching off into set. Then you start branching off into, okay, well, how I'm going to shoot this. That comes down to the shot list. You know, so things of planning is a key thing that kind of pushed me into filming, and then the difficult levels of filming and how to tell a story and get a audience to be engaged is what forced me to do that. So I'm always pushing myself. If you're not challenging yourself, my father used to challenge me, and he's long gone now, but that stuck with me for a long time. I like the difficult stuff. I make a plan about it, and they I don't want, and you know, you have those Arthur days.
Yeah.
But the challenging part of it is what pushed me in that. And I love movies. I want to know, how did they do that? How did they put those shots together? How did they do that? So that's what got me there.
You know, with you bringing that up, well, let me just do a quick recap. So you said that IT and photography really helped you together because of the way that you had to plan things out in IT and the way that you have to plan things out when it comes to doing a video shoot or what have you. And IT helped you in that sense when it came over to you doing the production and videos and all that type of stuff, right?
It is correct, because if you think about it, right, not to cut you off, a production company, everyone is just focused on the production. Well, guess when a computer goes down, what happens? They have to contact the tech guys.
Yeah.
So I'm a double entendre. Like, I don't need to contact the tech guy. I am the tech guy. So I'm a tech guy that shoots film, pretty much. You know,
that's kind of like the difference between a cowboy with one gun and a cowboy with two guns. You know?
Yeah, he's gonna win.
Yeah. So
he's gonna win.
Man, let me ask you this. I as you were speaking on that, it had me thinking about how I can ask you this question without the fan standpoint, but from the director standpoint. So, you know, Black Panther, right? I'm not gonna lie, just me knowing you and us talking, it has me looking at movies a different way. You know, even before we even had this, even before we started this recording, and before I even started this podcast, you had me look at TV shows and movies and things like that in a different way. So I want your honest opinion on the movie Black Panther. I want you to try to bring us in from, I want you to give us a type of view from behind the camera.
Well, Black Panther to me was a very beautifully shot movie, as far as the effects and things like that, and the way that things look. But the message behind the film was what was bigger for me than anything else. Now, if you look at Wakanda was a separatist country. It didn't integrate with the world yet. It was hidden from the world, had its own resources. So it kind of stayed into itself until people started to find out about this place. They wanted to invade this place. So that's true to life. When you look at movies, in that movie in general, it was a very uplifting movie. It had a lot of so-called African Americans and I'll say this too for the record, for the fans out there. If you ever hear me say so-called, it's because I believe our culture is a little bit deeper than just the color. Black is more to that than that. So I'll try to refrain from the word so-called, but I've been saying it for so long, it's second nature. But it showed that, okay, our people can be in the film.
Right.
Our people can act very well. Our people can actually show, it showed us in a light where that was true to self. When we look at Africa in general, because Wakanda was based on Africa, and you read the comic books, it was based on a fictional city in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
They show us in a light. And from, I guess the question you kind of say is from a director standpoint, to me, it was beautifully done. You had the illegitimate son who was trying to find his way back. You had the privileged son who just knew everything was given to him. And T'Challa had to kind of find a sense of humbleness.
Mm-hmm.
He had to dig deep and say, damn, I got all these great things around me. Yet I still need to be humble. Yet I still need to be one with the people. He was great with the people. You know, he kind of reminded me like, if Obama would have played the part, it would have been perfect. You know what I'm saying? He was kind of like, if you think about it, he was friendly with everybody. From a director's standpoint, it was shot beautifully. But it's a lot of truths to that too, because if we relate that to what's going on in the world, well, there are countries that don't allow us in. North Korea, a few of them that doesn't allow. They're separate from the world, and it proved that if you stay separate from the world for so long, you're not going to be able to adapt to what's going on outside. You have to be able to adapt to what's going on outside. So that's what I got from that, from a director standpoint. Like a lot of movies today tell those truths. We just don't pay attention to the tidbits that's in there. Everything is true to life. Trust and believe it is. You know, so that's my opinion on that. From my standpoint, I wouldn't have done anything differently. And I would have did exactly the way it was.
I'm not gonna lie. That was a. You and I both know we're geeks, so that was a geek question. I kind of baited you into that. I apologize.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm gearing up for the next phase of what they're gonna do now. And how that whole Marvel. I got a feeling it's not gonna be as good as the first phase, first 3-4 set phases.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like Endgame the way I liked the Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. I liked that whole concept, but I'm a comic book junkie. So me personally, they dumbed down Thor. I mean, they dumbed down Thanos' power.
Yeah.
Like, he was way more powerful than that in the comics. Like, he would have destroyed them all. And he did easily.
Yeah.
So I get the narrative, and that's the thing about film too, right? If you're doing like a story behind something, you have, you already have the reference. You have to kind of create a narrative.
Yeah.
That's the difficult part. Is like creating a narrative around that. That's why when you hear directors like Martin Scorsese come out and say, well, Marvel is not doing anything new. Yeah. They're not, you have a reference already. Okay, try to take something from nothing and turn it into something. You know, I watched The Irishman 3 times. It's a 3-hour movie, so you already know. 9 hours of my life was gone.
Yeah.
But the way that he told that story, even though that was a narrative story too, so there were some truths and that you have to exaggerate a little bit. But I see what he's saying. Like, outside of the other movies like Goodfellas and Casino or The Irishman, Martin Scorsese is a phenomenal director because he's able to take something, nothing completely, and turn it into a masterpiece.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my opinion on that, man. I'm geared up for it, but that's one of those difficult things in film. It's like, how can I take something that's already here, that's already known, and still sway the public and change it a little bit, you know?
Right. I appreciate you for showing me your geekiness and put it out on display for everybody. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, I'm super geeked out, man. I'll talk geek all day. Geek, movies, and cameras. I'll talk that all day.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. You know, you kind of brought up some very good points earlier, and I want to kind of peel back the onion on a few of the things that you said. So why don't you give me your aha moment of you wanting to get into the whole production? You know, what was that moment like when you finally decided, you know what, this is what I'm going to do? What gave you that push? What kind of, you know, turned the switch on for you?
My first edited video, when I first completed it, it was horrible. It was, and I'm learning still more, but it was horrible. But the completion of it, and to have someone else say, "Man, I like that." Now, I'm my biggest critic.
Right.
And when I was able to see a client excited and pleased about something, I was kicking myself for. Editing takes hours, so I was kicking myself for hours and days to make this as perfect on me from my point of view. But when the customers see me and say, "Man, I'm loving this. We got to do more of this," they smiling, they dapping me up, and being my first time out, I kind of, I hope I can use this term. I popped my cherry on that.
Yeah.
Like that just said, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
With hard work and discipline and learning and research, I can push this to the limit.
Yeah.
I can push this to the limit. So that was my aha moment. That was being able to see, and then being able to also send your video to some people that that is in the industry, that's doing awesome work, to tell you like, yo, I like this, give you some critique, but overall I like this. And that was the point that told me, okay, I can do this. This is my artist. This is the artist now painting the canvas. This is my artistry. So that was my moment, man. I said, at that point, I can't stop at this point. Now I got to work harder, because once you accept that, now I got to push. The next project has to be better than the last.
Right.
And that has to trickle down. So yeah, that was my aha moment, man. Like, I still watch that video to remind myself.
I think you mentioned something there that really should strike a chord with the class, in the sense that even though you wasn't particularly pleased with your first project, in your mind it wasn't perfect, but you put it out there anyway, and that the person who was accepting that product loved it, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people focus on trying to get this one thing perfect, right? That holds them back from actually putting it out into the world to see what happens, right? And I'll be the first to admit, I had issues with that too. But at some point, I pretty much just said, okay, screw it. Let me just see what happens now, right? Because I could be in the lab working on something for months and months and months, for years and years and years. And when I finally put it out, I may have missed my moment because it was so long ago. And so that's something that I want the class to understand, that if you're working on something, keep working on it, yes, but don't be afraid to push it out there even when you're not ready for the world to see it.
It's been times, not to cut you off, it's been times I've watched horrendous films.
Yeah.
But the audio was so good. I was like, you know what? He got it out there. Like, you got to put it out there. Like, and I used to go through this. Like, I went through this. Like, throughout this journey, before I lost my hard drive, because, that was a boo-boo. IT guys never should lose hard drives, but I lost 4 terabytes of data that I got to send off to get back. And the only reason why I'm sending it off to get it back, because there's some priceless stuff on there that I can't, I can't get back. You know what I'm saying? So, basically, when I went through that part where, I gotta be perfect, or I gotta have the perfect camera, or I gotta have this, I gotta have the lighting, I have to have this. And then I met a brother of mine like 2 years ago. He does production too. And he was like, man, just put it out. Just put it out. So finally I put out Killjoy, which is I thought about this ideal about killer clowns. Because killer clowns, I hate them. I do not like clowns. I'm not as afraid of them, but I don't like them at all. They're just horrible.
Okay.
But I would sit and watch It 1 and 2, and the Tim Curry version too, the original TV version, which I think was horribly shot. Now, when you compare like things you look back on movies and shows, you look back then, it's like, man, that stuff was horrible.
Yeah.
But it was the stuff back then. It was the greatest thing since sliced bread back then.
Yeah, yeah.
So the brother told me, like, look, man, it doesn't matter who doesn't like it. Just put it out. Someone's gonna like it. A friend of mine's right now, movies are shot horribly. but they're on Amazon Prime right now.
Yeah.
Streaming.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll
So
find a lot of them out there like that too.
fear we create fear. I kind of compare things to like a baby, right? When you think, if you look at a baby between the ages like 1 and 5, 1 and 4, they don't know what fear is really. They're on a road of curiosity. Whatever they see, they're gonna touch it. Whatever they're gonna do, they're gonna look at it. They don't have the fear. Right. Once fear is incorporated, it's done. They won't never touch it again. But they have to experience the reason why not to. And I think a lot of times creators, we want everyone to like something. We want it to be super perfect. And I had to go through that stage. That was one of those stages, like, even I still go through it sometimes now. Like, oh, I can't put this out. You know what? I'm just going to put it out. And then the client be like, oh, man, what you was doing. This is lovely. Could we do another one? Yeah. I remember I could recall a video shoot where I was, and this is why I figured out I can direct. And that was one of those another moments too, another aha moment. I was always afraid.
Genesis moment, huh?
Yeah, that Genesis moment. I was always afraid to direct, to be a director, right? Because in most cases, you got a director and you got the AC or the assistant camera, you got the cameraman or the DP. DP is for the class out there. DP stands for, and not the other DP guys, but DP stands for Director of Photography. And director of photography is basically the guy that actually sets up the cameras. He's the one that kind of like makes sure that the cameras are smooth moving. He also is the one that's setting the shots, things like that. He may have an AC, which is, or cameraman. AC is assistant cameraman. You know what I'm saying? So I always wanted to be either DP or assistant cameraman. I never wanted to direct. So when I had to work with another person who brought a client to me, he said, well, I'll shoot, you just direct. And I'm like, you sure? I've never done that before. Yeah. And as I started to, direct and things like that, I dug into my IT bag. Like, oh, snap. When I'm talking to users, I'm directing them. I'm directing a user how to do certain stuff. I'm even giving them power by saying, hey, you should do this and do that. Here's a tidbit. And when I directed that, and the guy, we was only supposed to shoot one video. The dude was like, yo, let's go around the corner and shoot another. I got some more money for you. And they've been my client ever since then. Like, they called me like 2 weeks ago through the corona and said, hey, I know we can't get out and shoot, but let me drop these deposit on you real quick. Let me actually pay for the videos. And when the state lift up, when we can get the Airbnbs and stuff like that, we'll come and shoot. I said, cool. So that was my aha moment. Like, man, I actually can direct. I actually have vision. And that goes into the whole on a vision thing. We're on a vision. That goes all into that whole bag of tricks there. So yeah, that was an aha moment for me too, man.
One of the things that you mentioned was fear. And trust me when I tell you, I totally understand fear, and that's something that I try to get across to the class. Yes, there is going to be fear. I'm not saying that you should not be afraid of fear, but one of the main things that I always say is you don't let fear keep you from doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
So if you had let fear come in and kept you from directing, who would have known where you would have been right now, right? Yeah.
Or fear of the main thing is, the biggest one is if they going to like it. And it's like, you can't, your success shouldn't be judged by who likes it. Yes, technically from a money standpoint, I like it, I'm gonna buy it, cool. But far as producing something or putting out a product or even testing the waters, having a public opinion determine or fear of someone not liking something can stop a person in Iowa wanting to invest in you, or a person in California. Like, I get so many people in my inbox in other regions. Like, and that was another thing too. Another moment, like, okay, I want the people here to work with me. And I had to use the Big Sean effect. Big Sean was popping here before he signed with Kanye. Yeah, he rapped for him, but he had to leave Detroit to come back to be big. So someone outside of the Michigan or wherever you stay in, may see your work and you provide the service for them based on what you do. It doesn't have to necessarily start locally. And you want the local people to support you because you're locally. That's your hometown. You know, everybody probably in it, you know, and I know a slew of people. So it's like, that was another thing. I said, I wanted the locals the local rappers, the local companies, and to support me, and I wasn't getting that. And that fear of people not supporting you locally was starting to sit in, and I had to get away from that. Especially when I got cats in New York, like, yo, I'm gonna fly you out. Just come kick it with us, we'll shoot video, all that. And that's nothing. You can't be afraid to go out. You can't be afraid to venture off and say everybody ain't trying to get you. There's a lot of fear, a lot of things go through the mind when you invade the unknown. A lot goes through the mind, and you have to kind of like, you got to jump out the airplane without a parachute, but have a backup plan though. Have a. The initial parachute may not work, but make sure that backup one does. You know what I'm saying? So fear is important.
I was listening to a podcast where Michael Hyatt was on, and Michael Hyatt is one of those really huge angel investors. And I'm talking about, he invested in Facebook and Uber and a few other stupid well-known companies. And he said you have to jump out of an airplane and build the airplane on your way down. You know?
Yeah.
And then after you build the airplane, pray to God that it's going to fly. If it flies, oh my goodness, it's just awesome. Right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think what you touched on about fear, man, that's so needed, because obviously you starting a business is, you're going to have fear. You started a new venture, it's going to be fear, right? It's fear everywhere, but you can't let fear paralyze you to do what you supposed to be doing, right?
Exactly.
So with that being said, man, let me ask you this. I know you was just speaking on customers and some of the customers that you had. What does the right customer look like to you?
It's a good question. That is a good question. The right customer, from my experience, is a person that comes in and you're able to see that you're able to provide that said service for them. The right customer is a person or a company that allows you. You guys are allowed to work together. I've dealt with customers who wanted complete control, creative control, and I'm the person that say this, okay, if you've never shot a film or you never shot a video, you can tell me your vision and we can work together, but they want to complete control. They want to control the shots, everything. So the perfect customer to me is a company that's humble enough or more down to earth to know to say, hey, let's collaborate on this, or they trust your opinion. They let you go with the flow. Like my last customer. So everybody know the real Mr. and Mrs. Matthews is pretty much a hot ballrooming couple out of the city. Right. That's a client of mine.
Right.
I'm looking at footage of them right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When I came and met them through my brother Reef, who's another person that shoots with me, they were humble enough to say, hey, I don't know. The husband wanted to do it himself. Wife was like, no, we need a crew because we're hot now. You got P. Diddy and all these different people reaching out. They just danced with DJ D Nice 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they was like, hey, we need some guys to come in and do this for us.
Yeah.
And basically, they gave us complete control. They look forward to us to guide them.
Right.
Because they trust the process. So yeah, that's the perfect customer to me. A customer that trusts the process and is able to collab too with you.
Right.
Know? So that's, to me, that's it. Of course, customers that pay.
Man. So
money is always important.
Of course, right? You know, I before I hit the record button, you know, we talked about where I kind of want you to go in, and that's perfect for this class, because I would like to call this class the branding class, right? So with that being said, man, what's some actionable steps that a business could take to shoot a good promo video themselves, or look for good production companies to hire?
When you're looking far as shooting them themselves, I mean, you can, if it's products product shots are really easy to shoot because you can just set them on a turntable and they could just turn and you just shoot, and that's
Right.
it. You put some voiceovers over it. You could put words on it, but then it goes back into knowing how to do production,
Right.
knowing how to work the software.
Yeah.
So a customer, doing photo shoots, if you got somebody that's shooting, that that's up and coming, that's an intern or something that has a camera, get with them.
Mm-hmm.
Test them out, because my first pieces of work was free. Free work is the way that you get yourself out, right? And that goes right into the whole branding thing and how to look for the good companies. If a company's looking for a good production company, look at what the services they're offering. Are they more corporate based? Are they more, entertainment based? Can they do both? Look at, how clean is the shots? Is it enjoyable? But mainly, is their website together? Things like that. Look at their Instagram. Look at their Facebook. What are they doing? Like, I don't like Spike Spielberg, right? Yeah, that's my name. I have a Facebook. I be fooling on there. But I don't point no customer to that page.
Right.
It goes straight to OnTheVision. Everything that's camera related, things like that, they go to OnTheVision. Also, testimonials. That is key. Like a customer that, if you want to know if you got a good production company, look at the testimonial. Look at what other people are saying about dealing with that said company. And just look to see if what they offering fits what you're trying to do. Everyone may can't get drone footage, right? Right. So you won't, every company, you don't have to get the drone footage from, but hey, these guys take great photos. Or these guys, that 30-second promo made me want to buy it. Look how they tell the story and how they convey the message. So that's how those are a few things I would say that will stick out as far as a good production company. And then the most important part is the business part. Is the business together? Are they representing themselves properly? You know what I'm saying? Even though you see this face here, you'll never see this face. You'll probably see one or two pictures on OnTheVision. That's it, because there's multiple people that assist with OnTheVision. It ain't just me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I would say that just see if your brand fits what they're trying to do, and reach out. You may not have the biggest budget. Don't be afraid to see if you can if they can fit your service. Like, for example, your brother, right? Before Corona, we was set to go into the gym. I was going to shoot the whole gym because I needed gym promo. I wanted to do fitness promos because, again, mental health and health is the thing right now. Everybody wants to look good. No one wants to go get surgery. No disrespect to them, but everybody wants to have a healthy lifestyle because it's more of a lifestyle.
Right.
So I said, Clarence, look, don't worry about paying me. This is going to help me and you.
Right.
Set up the spot. I'm going to come. I will come shoot you. Edit it, give it to you. We'll market it both for both. I said, we helping each other. I said, not only do you get 30-second to a minute videos or how many videos you need for your Instagram, I get to use this as a portfolio.
Right.
So that's another thing. Like some companies that are up and coming, I'm still an up and coming company. Until I hit Fortune 500, I'm still independent. So you may find a company that's willing to do pro bono. You may be able to, bartering is really important. You just have to pick and choose how to barter, but bartering is not bad. Like, so that's another good thing. See if someone's up and coming, but quality, business, and looking to see if they're looking to barter with you will be the keys here for that.
Man, those some excellent keys. And I remember being in some of those conversations where you have with my identical twin brother about him and some of the shots, but of course, due to this pandemic that we are experiencing at the moment, that's kind of been placed on hold. But there's some things that I definitely want to talk to you about as far as he goes outside of here. But you would definitely love it. Yeah.
I'm still waiting for this Corona to lift up because that's still on my schedule.
Yeah.
Like we shot a girl, right? My man had brought he had content like, yo, I got this girl that do fitness, right? Let's go shoot her. I'm like, all right, cool. And I won't say it didn't work out right. It's just it didn't work. It didn't go as planned.
Right.
Which
Right.
this is a keynote for the class out there. You can have the laid out pre-production, and when I'll explain what pre-production is. Pre-production is the planning part. It's the part that says, okay, this is the mood of the shots. This is the mood or what they call tone. These are the shots. This is what we're going to take.
Mm-hmm.
You can have all that stuff laid out. Trust me and believe something will change on set. I've had it happen to me plenty of times. And to go back to the question earlier about how IT and filming is connected, IT, things change dynamically, milliseconds.
Yeah.
So IT taught me to immediately address a problem, or how they can say, run the audible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So those things, I'm blessed, man, to have went down IT. Trust me, I am blessed to do that because it's helped me on the set plenty of times. So you can have the cleanest shot list, all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody might be late.
Yeah.
Or they can't make it. You know? So
Yeah.
Be prepared for change because it does happen.
You know, in football, there's always the audible, right?
Yeah.
You go in the huddle, you have this set plan, you come out the huddle and you look at the defense and you realize, oh man, they about to blitz.
You know what
My
time
play
it
is not going to work.
It's not.
Right? So what do? You call an audible. Hey, you know, I need you to run this route. I need you to run that route. You know, I need the offensive line to block this way so that we can still move down the field and not take a loss of yards. And that's one of the things that, again, with me making that transition from sports to IT and now in the business, that always helped me with being able to see what's going on and being able to move and shift or pivot when I need to, when the opposition is kind of, you know, the opposition is starting to blitz on me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I mean, you got to be able to see. You got to be able to see what's beyond you.
Yeah.
You have to be able to see. You have to have the foresight to see, like, okay, it's a possibility, but I'm gonna be prepared for it. You have to play those scenarios in your mind. If you don't, tunnel vision will get you nowhere. Period. It gets you nowhere. Flat out. You know. So. But yeah,
that's amazing because my wife is still working on me as far as that. I'm much better at what I was in the past, but you know, you know what? Speaking of wives, let me ask you this: as an entrepreneur, as you run your business, how do you balance home and business?
So my wife, she's a photographer. A lot of people don't know this. She loves taking pictures. When I first met her, she had like the old school Canon film. The film camera, the rolling film, you got to develop the film yourself. So, On a Vision was started on the backs of my stepson passed away 4 years ago in a motorcycle accident, and we wanted to show honor to him by, you know, naming our company after him. So, see, I'm calling. The wife's calling right now. Hello. Hello? Hello? No, I'm on a podcast right now. I'm live right now with Bernard.
Tell us that, hey.
We just sold the house? Live on a podcast. Okay, I'll call you back.
Breaking news.
Bernard says, great news. He said hello. He said, when the corona's up, you and Jennifer got to go back to the bar and I know. Look at us. I love Jennifer. Podcast. That's the Wonderful Wives. I know, right? You guys kidded up. Y'all both are Leos, though. That's weird, though. Like, our wives are I'm gonna get off this for a minute, right? We're gonna talk about you guys in just 2 seconds. So I'll call you back. So we just sold our house. Whoop whoop. I can pop the Don P. That's been sitting in the fridge for like a year. Let me get off. I'm on the podcast right now. Okay. So. Okay. Cool. Okay. That's a story that we'll talk about. This whole house selling thing after this. So my wife, back to what the question you asked about, how do I balance work, life, work and entrepreneurship? So it was difficult at first.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this, I'm gonna keep it all the way 100. I was on the brink of losing my marriage behind my entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason behind I would say that is because I was spending more time on my business and work, and that was it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'll go back. So we named On a Vision after our son, my stepson. I don't like using the word step. My son Jonathan passed away, and we want to honor him. So honor is a part of his name. Jonathan, you know what I'm saying? The honor part is part of his name. So I'm a visionary. I'm always on a vision. I'm always looking for different ways of doing things. The light bulb is constantly going off.
Right.
So I said, well, you know what? I was joking around with it, and I said, oh, man, we on a vision. I said, oh, that's it.
Right.
Again, that's an aha moment.
Aha moment. Yeah.
We're on a vision. Our job is to portray life behind the lens. So fast forward, I almost lost my marriage to entrepreneurship because I was spending, you got 24 hours in a day, like I said. I'll have 8 hours of work. The rest of the time was my business.
Right.
So let's talk about some nights I didn't go to bed because we have I have a couch and stuff down here in my office. You can't see it right now, but I would go to sleep on the couch, get up, go on the computer, get up, go to work, come home, go, hey, wife, go to the computer. And my wife wasn't happy with that. So what I had to do was, being that me and her are owners of On a Vision. She is not just a seat on the board, but we both own the company.
Mm-hmm.
So what I had to do was I had to incorporate her. I started teaching her about just having her critique, because she's my biggest critic too. So I started running all my projects through her. Like, cause my wife watches a lot of shows. She watches a lot of movies. She's a visionary too. So that incorporating her kind of saved our marriage, on amongst the other things. But I was spending so much time away from home. I wasn't able to spend time with my family. Now, mind you, I'll say this for the class out there. I don't have any kids, but I'm a grandpa. Right. I have stepkids, but I'm a grandpa. Right. So I'm a 37-year-old grandpa. You feel me?
Right.
So when the girls will come over, because there's two little girls, Sienna and Selena, they're like 5 and 6. They'll come over and they'll be looking for Papa to teach them how to play on the puzzle. So basically what I was doing was teaching them I was introducing IT to them. Mm-hmm. I was showing them about, RAM, motherboards, trying to implement a skill into them at that age, because when they're at that age, they want to learn like sponges.
Yeah.
So every time they'll come over, are we going to play with the puzzle today? Are we going to, and I wouldn't have time for them because I'm editing or I got some people coming over, and I was taking away from my family. So long story short, I had to start incorporating my wife in shoots, not knowing that she was good at set design, not knowing that. Mm-hmm. I unlocked something in her. So that was the way I was able to now balance work life. And I had to create a schedule, man. Like, a lot of things was not on schedule. I would randomly edit. I wouldn't have a set date. I had to start, going into my calendar. I started using programs like Trello and Monday.com to kind of follow my schedule. So I will make like Monday through Friday my edit days. Well, really Monday through Thursday, because I know when come the weekend, I got some stuff to do around the house. That's family time, So I will give myself a few hours of editing and research, and then I'll go spend time with my family. Now my wife like, yo, you got to get the bread, you got to get the money. She allows it now for me to spend hours. But I had to incorporate her, man. I had to come up with a very strict schedule, very strict, and I had to stick to it. Mm-hmm. So that's how I was able to balance. And still some things are not going to be 50-50.
Right.
You're going to have to give more to that. Now, the best thing I could do, I could tell the class and the people are listening, the audience is listening, explain the vision to your significant other. Incorporate her in it. Mm-hmm. That way, y'all work together. She don't have to know all the technical stuff. Like, my wife she knows cameras, but she ain't shooting. She handles the books. Right. She does all the. Now I had to, I was at the point where I was dealing with clients. Like, the director and stuff shouldn't have to be dealing with clients. You have a person to You have a consultant to do that. So
Mm-hmm.
I've incorporated her to consult. Like moving forward, that was the thing of this year she wanted to do. She said, hey, I got to be the one that's going to be consulting these customers. I'll be the one to talk to them. You don't need to talk
Right.
to them.
Right.
So you have to find a way of balance of either including your significant other or explaining to your significant other, okay, listen, this is the goal. This is what we're going to work on to get to said goal.
Right.
I'm willing to put it all in. I just need you to work with me. And
Right.
it's, again, it goes back to what we were saying about compromise. You know, compromising is important. Like, you have to be able, in a relationship, you have to be able to compromise certain things. You have to be able to, your wife's there to help you. Yes, true indeed, but you have to be able to give and take a little bit. So I would say that to the audience is, if you explain the vision right, you lay the foundation right, everything else around it is going to build itself up, regardless, with no error. You're going to go through the trials and tribulations. Be prepared for a lot of red tape. Be prepared for a lot of hard work. And if you have a significant other that's going to push you to the next level, then it will be easy to balance it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome tips, man. Awesome tips. I think some of the things that you mentioned, compromise, communication, and including her or him into what it is that you're doing. Those are awesome tips for the class. And in class, I hope you guys are taking notes and actually jotting this stuff down, because this is certified gold right now. This is certified gold right now.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's the importance. It's that took me through. Like I said, I'm man enough to say that I was on the brink of losing everything, but now we figured out how to incorporate each other. Like, she wants things she wants to do, so I incorporate myself in her stuff too.
Right.
So
right.
it goes both ways.
Give and take. Give and take.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, let me ask you this: what was the biggest mistake you made as a entrepreneur?
Not using paperwork.
What do you mean?
Okay, so when you're in the film industry, there are several red herrings that'll come up if you don't provide the proper paperwork. For example, if you don't sign a contract with a customer, then really they can dictate how things go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you tell it, like, for example, I'll say this, and I'll use this story for example. I did a shoot for a client, and I didn't use paperwork. I didn't have a contract. I didn't lay out the legalities of my said service.
Right.
So they had me at their beck and call. So they had me re-editing a ton of times. That was taking away time from other projects. They were being very difficult to deal with, because at that point there was no red tape, no black and white to bind them to my services, or from what I was providing them. So the biggest mistake was not doing the research on the paperwork that you need when you're signing a contract. And actually, not just the paperwork, the verbiage that's in the paperwork, right? And I'll show you an example moving forward about using paperwork with a client and how it can still go left because of the type of clients. Again, it goes back to that perfect client thing. So that was, a project that's normally done in a week or two, depends on how deep the project is. It turned into like 2 to 3 weeks of re-edits, this, that, and the third. When they mean, because somebody who is not even involved in the project, then put me in it and do this, that, and the third. But you're not the person that's paying for the service. You're not the brand that we're shooting. We're not shooting you. We're shooting the client.
Right.
So what I had to do was I had to go do some research, find video production paperwork. I had to, also the paperwork binds people to deposits. I've had clients try to avoid signing paperwork with me, and because you gave me a deposit, that binds us. Well, they say you're legally binded when someone gives you money, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they say. But the paperwork says different. When you provide a person with a set contract, hey, these are my fees, this is my deposit amount, This is when you're going to get your stuff delivered, and this is who owns the actual footage, right? So that was that. It's clients out there that would not sign paperwork, and it's most of our people sometimes that don't like paperwork. Unfortunately not. And this is a tidbit for the audience out there. Get your paperwork right. Make sure your LLCs is together. Before you even start a production company or a company at all, make sure the name is there. If you're selling a product, make sure it's copyrighted, trademarked. Those things cost money in the beginning, but it's going to pay off in the end, because if somebody steals your product or somebody steals something from you, then you can sue for that.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Unfortunately, in the film industry, you can't copyright media. But technically, when you load that data onto your computer, that's your data.
Right.
That's your data.
Right.
That's your copyright. You still want to copyright the name, because someone can still take the name and start using it. You know what I'm saying? So that those are the two things. Like, you know, when you don't have proper paperwork, shoots will turn into, you know, normal turnaround times could be 24 hours, 72 hours. You know, a lot of re-edits and things like that. You know, re-edits are costly. You know, so I went into the lab and I said, you know what, let me go ahead. It was a valuable lesson learned. I said, you know what, let me go ahead and start putting the paperwork together. And even my wife, who's part of the company, like, yo, you need to get some contracts. You complain about these people, complain about clients, you know, have you do 10 or 12 re-edits and things like that. You need to incorporate some contracts. Wait a second, I'm just checking emails. Okay. So fast forward, when I first started using paperwork, I met a client. I won't speak on them, but I had a client through a friend of mine's. He used to work at Comcast with us too. Ivory.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it was they provided the services to the public. They cut hair, right? So they hit me up, yo. You know, I want you to do this video for me. Now, mind you, you're my people. You're my man's people, so I'm gonna look out for you. And this is another tidbit. It's gonna be leading on to another tidbit later. So I'm gonna look out for you, because you're so hungry to get in the game. You're so hungry to provide said service. You will sometimes undercut what you normally are worth. But if you're just starting out, you really don't know what your value is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you have to make your bones somewhere, you know. So me and my wife, I took her to the meeting. She sat there and we talked about the deposit. We talked about the shoot, the ideas and things like that. We went over the treatment with them. And we did pre-production right there. The client said they was going to have all said things in order. When it comes shoot day, cool. This client's $200 project turned into an $800 profit. And I'll explain how it did that. So I said, all right, well, give me a deposit of $100. I will shoot you the contract. I need you to read it over thoroughly. If you have any questions about the contract, please contact me. And I'll walk you through it again. If you want to have your lawyer look at it, have them look at it too. But it's just a straight up and down contract. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. So standard production contract. So basically, we get on the day of shoot. Where the day the shoot was supposed to happen, we had to reschedule because all the things wasn't there. So come reschedule again. When she rescheduled again, we come to the shoot. Now her model's not there. Now, mind you, one of her barbers had their model there, because the idea is she's going to bring models. She's going to have all these bibs and stuff on the client, so showing the logos and stuff. I thought, oh, that's dope. You're branding at that point. So, long story short, we knocked out the shoot. Now, this shoot, her based on her treatment, and I had stressed this in the pre-production. I said I already did the research on how a barber's promo video is supposed to look. If you're trying to attract clients to your shop, you show the shop, you show people smiling, you show people getting haircuts, you show your technical skill, you show, hey, this is why you need to come to said barbershop, because this is what we do, and this is this is the type of service we're providing.
Right.
She didn't want to do that. She wanted a whole drawn out love and hip hop type of video, and that's not it. That wasn't it. So she didn't trust the director, the process. So that turned into, well, by the end of the shoot, she's like, you know what? My models wasn't here, man, but, you know, if I got to pay you, then come back and shoot. We'll reschedule. I said, all right, cool. Now, there is a reshoot clause in my contract.
Right.
Now, I can automatically tell she didn't read the contract because she offered to pay me again to come reshoot.
Right.
So I had to remind her, so just let you know in the contract there is a reshoot fee. It is an additional, because again, this is a $200 project.
Mm-hmm.
So your reshoot fee is going to be it's a whole day shoot. So that's another. I said, look, I'll cut you $50. Just give me $150 because I got to pay my crew and I got to pay for my time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the contract. So we did that. So everything was good. Shoot was the second time we shot. Everybody was great. Things was good. Now the guy that had brought his model there, he didn't have to shoot again because he had his model that day. We still shot the first day.
Right.
So we go into the edit. I edited according to what that storyboard was based on her vision. I begged and pleaded with her, like, yo, you really need to let me do my thing on this. Like, I know what we need to do to make it look.
Right.
She didn't want that. When I sent this lady to finish this project, she did not like it. Now, this is the thing about business that I like about this business. The client, the guy that had his model, came to my man, was like, hey, he talked to my assistant DP, my assistant AC, was like, yo, I want my own video. How much I charge so I can get my own separate video, just me and my client, for me? We only charged the boy $50. Now,
Right.
This client had paid for the whole barbershop. I know this is turned into a long story, but I got to walk the class through this because this is the things that you will run into when you're dealing with media and you're dealing with clients. So basically, he paid $50 for a 1-minute video. We edited both videos. We were done. I was done with both videos within 72 hours.
Right.
I delivered her video and I delivered his video. She calls back and says, I'm not really feeling it. You know, I'm not really feeling it. And I said, well, you know, I get, you know, it's a little drawn out. I said, but I had to remind her, I said, but this is based on your treatment. You know, I said, this is based on what we agreed on. I said, these are the things I said that in the beginning of pre-production that, hey, trust me, I'm going to make this look phenomenal. Now, my man video, and I called him and I said, well, what you want me to do to the video? How you want to look? You know what this brother told me? I trust you. Do you? I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come to find out, I picked the song that he liked. The shots were phenomenal. They use these emojis, guys, out there for the younger crowd. It looks like a fire. It looks like a fire.
Yeah.
He sent like at least a paragraph with a fireball texting to my phone.
Okay.
Fire. So that means when I see that, again, that's an aha moment. A customer trusted me without even giving me any idea of what they wanted. And I delivered exactly what they wanted and envisioned in their head. I didn't even talk to this guy. I didn't sit down and do any pre-production with him. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
He said, man, you even picked the song I like. When I tell you I ran up the views on his page, he's got like 2,000 views one day, easy. off that video. So she was like, I seen his video. I want my video like that. Now here comes
if she had just listened to what you said in the beginning, she would have been okay.
Yeah.
But because she didn't, now she want her video to look like the other guy's video.
Exactly. So now, this is the part about paperwork class that is key. This is where you call CA, what's it called? CYA.
Yeah.
This is the CYA of paper. That's what paperwork is, class.
Break down what CYA means.
CYA, for the listeners out there, is cover your ass. Simple as that.
Yep.
There's no way to slice it.
That's the legal terms.
It's a legal term. To put you like this, most businesses will use that terminology.
Yeah.
CYA. IT guys use it.
Yeah.
CYA.
Yeah.
Cover your ass, because that's the main thing. If you don't cover your ass, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Now, imagine if I wouldn't have had no paperwork on her. Imagine if I wouldn't have had a contract with her about the guidelines of my services and how things are going to flow from a business standpoint. I'd have been screwed, right? So I said, all right. I almost called her name, but I can't do that. I said, all right, I'll do you one free re-edit, which that's in the contract. That's generous. Most production companies don't even do that. Some of them may do it off the strength of, you know what, you're good. We have a good rapport. And that's another thing too. Being able to, here's another tip for the class. You want to build a rapport with your client. Don't treat your client like just a money bag. Treat them as a relationship. Show them that they're in good hands, like Allstate. No pun intended. The better you treat your client and customers, the more revenue you'll get. The more times they will recommend you to people. You know, so long story short, I know this story is long, guys. I don't know how long we got, but so I was like, all right, this first one is free on me, which is in the client. This was in the contract. So she would have known that if she would have read it, right? So I did the re-edit, and she was like, I'm just not feeling it. So now at this point, I'm like, okay, this is something I never do. I would never invite a client to sit in my studio to edit with me. You don't, there's something you just don't do. You don't bring people from the outside into your lab to see your process. You just don't do it. You know, and as most production companies, they don't do that. When you go to Marvel's not, the guys on the board is not sitting there with Marvel and Disney and editing films. Okay, do this, do that. They're not doing that. They're trusting. It goes back to trusting the services that you're getting. So she sat there and I said, well, I had to explain to her in the contract. I said, hey, Dana, I think we need to go over the contract before we go, you know, now we're on the second re-edit. And now the second re-edit is in my contract. The re-edit is $50 an hour. So now, remember I told you in the beginning of the story, $200 job turned into an $800 profit.
Yeah.
So to wrap all that up real quick, class, I end up editing the video an additional 5 hours. Now, if you do 5 times 50, you do the math.
Right.
You've already paid me twice to shoot. And I won't even get into, we'll talk about the legalities of what happened after that. But the paperwork, the moral of the story is, the paperwork outlined that it protected me as a company. Where one, you can't take me to court because there's no red herring in there. There's no, everything is straight up and down. And also one thing too, from a media standpoint, you never give away the raw data. When I mean by raw data, I mean the things that's shot out this camera, that's on that memory card, that data belongs to you. Now, some companies will pay for that exclusive data to have it. They will pay you. And technically they should, because that's not, they didn't shoot that, you did. Because say if I gave you data that I shot that was raw, that has no watermark on it, guess what they can do? They can take that same data to someone else and they can say they shot it. And they can say they can edit it. And now your video that you produced is being, the other party is reaping the rewards from that because you didn't have a watermark on it. You didn't have anything to protect you.
Right.
So long story short, class, the clients, there was a big profit for me that day because the client didn't want, and I'll say this too, good customer service, I offered this a few times. Good customer service too is to walk with the customer and say, hey, let's read this contract together so we know what we're getting into. So that gives them the opportunity to deal with you. You know what I'm saying? If they want. So yeah, paperwork is key. This is why paperwork was so important for that one. So yeah, that was a long story.
I think from that story, it was so many, just from that story alone, it was so many gems that was dropped. I mean, you know, protecting yourself, making sure you have the right paperwork in place, the customer service, going over it with the customers to make sure that they understand what they are getting themselves into with you and what you are getting yourself into with them. Also, you spoke on how you kept going back and forth with the customer saying, hey, let's take a look at the contract. And even when you was generous, that was the customer service moment, and you mentioned, learned that from our old stomping grounds, Comcast, right?
Okay.
But that included everything that traditional a business is supposed to be, right? And one of the things that I failed to mention earlier, class, the school hard knocks is not predicated on somebody going to school, getting their degree, and getting off into what they're doing, but it's more so just people who learned from, who didn't necessarily get the education from a traditional standpoint, but got the education from what we call the school of hard knocks, right? Getting up, doing the dirty work, getting the experience, taking the peanuts that was thrown at you and turning those peanuts into peanut butter, and now you have a caviar and all that type of stuff. That is the purpose of the school of hard knocks. And man, with that one story right there, you pretty much said everything that the school of hard knocks is and what it represents. So with that being said, man, I know your time is very, very precious. So let me say this to you. One last thing, or two last things. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to answer this question. I want you to tell the class one thing that you want the class to know that cannot be found on Google or Wikipedia.
Hard work and dedication.
Easy peasy.
You can't find it on Google. You can't find it on Wikipedia.
You sure can.
You have to, and what I mean by that, and I'll use the infamous, most hated boxer in the world, Floyd Mayweather. He's successful because two things. He remembered where he came from, and he's reminding himself where he wants to go. Now, there's a gap in between that. The gap in between those two is the hard work and dedication. You have to dig deep. You have to dig somewhere deep. You have athletes, they dig deep.
Yeah.
People that in the industry, they dig deep, especially if it's some type of skill or some type of even IT, we have to dig deep, dig up top. We have to dig deep. Okay, how can I make this work? Because me and you both can attest to this. We've seen problems like, man, I do not know you get to doing this.
Yeah.
How can we fix this? And then you have an Einstein moment just off of pure curiosity. But you have to dig deep somewhere, and you have to go into a really, I don't even using the word dark place. You have to go somewhere deep inside and say, you know what? I can't be defeated by this. And that's another thing, too. You have to have the no-quit mentality. That mentality of not quitting and giving up, because it's so easy to give up. It's easy to say, and I'll attest to this, right? Me and you used to work out, right?
Yeah.
You used to work me out.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
I used to give up, man. And I told you before the call, before the live show, I had to dig deep. This is the first month since I was in high school that I took my health and things in order and stayed dedicated. Determination, hard work, discipline. Like those hard work, dedication, and discipline, those three things you cannot find on Google or Wikipedia. You can find the definitions, but as far as the person, you're not going to find that because it's supposed to be within. So I would tell the class that. If you want something, you're going to go out and get it.
Man, that's a mic drop right there.
You're going to go out and get it. If you want to, listen, people don't change until they're in a dire situation. You're in a dire situation and no return. You don't know where the next, I would say for the people that's grinding, where the next meal is going to come or where the next dollar is going to come, they're going to find a way. Google will start me on Amazon, Microsoft was started in a garage.
Yep.
And they had a no quit mentality. And look at them now.
Yep.
Billionaires.
Man. So with that being said, I want to give you just a few moments for you to tell the class what you got going on right now, where they can find you, and all your social media and all that type of good stuff.
Okay, well, definitely. Well, right now we're working on a Vision right now has two big projects that we're working on. One of them is called Killjoy. And actually, we're actually going to be needing, like, this is good for the class. If you want to be an extra or you want to be involved, I actually got to get with Steph again.
Yeah.
Because I ain't gonna lie to you, my boy was like, man, she fit the part. He asked about it the other day, like, you ever run into Steph again? I said, man, I can get with Steph. I said, but we got to make sure we got something for her, bro.
Yeah.
And she was the only one that showed up. And that was another thing too, though. This is a side note from what we're talking about. We did a casting call, right? You cannot get discouraged when no one shows up to your casting call. We had one person show up, and that was Steph.
Yep.
Steph showed up and showed her chops.
Yep.
Don't get discouraged when the peanut gallery does not support. Keep going.
Yep.
Use that as the motivation. Okay, cool. Don't get discouraged. You gotta keep. I used to get discouraged, but anywho, we're working on a series called Killjoy, and basically, Killjoy is about two individuals that's actually going around and, you know, they're killing people off. But there's a method to their madness. And also I am working on a comedy skit called Snitch Inc. Now, if anybody knows what Drugs Inc. is, we're the opposite of that. We're, you know, like, we're totally, and basically this, and if anyone's interested in that, I'll give all my information, contact information if you're interested in that. But basically, it's going to be snitching on all levels. You know, it's snitching in corporate, snitching, you know, on your neighbors. It's everything. So it's basically, we're parodying Drugs Inc.
Okay.
Yeah, so that, and then last but not least, me and my colleague are finishing up a series called The Bag that will be releasing soon on YouTube. If anyone's interested to see, you know, the first 2 episodes of Killjoy is on YouTube. And for now, that's what we are working on. If you want to be able to get in contact with me, you can follow me on Instagram at On a Vision Production. You can follow me on Twitter, On a Vision Production. You can follow me on Facebook, On a Vision Productions, as well as YouTube, On a Vision Productions. I will be starting a Spike Spielberg YouTube channel. I'm just wrapping up all my episodes I'm wrapping up all my content for that channel. So when I go to release, I have a schedule.
Right.
So if if you want to email me, you can email me at info@onavision.com. That's my corporate email. And then I also have onavision@gmail.com. So you can contact me on there. If you want to see some silly shit or some funny shit, you can always follow me on Spike Spielberg on Facebook or YouTube. Don't be alarmed, bro, what you see, because I'm a silly dude. I'm a realist, man. I'm a reality guy. I'm the most humble dude you can talk to, but I am realist. I'm a realist. Yeah. Those are the projects. If anyone is interested in being an extra, we are working on a possible web series called Cousins, where it's kind of like a spin on Three's Company. Instead of it's just 3 cousins living inside a big house, and they're going through trials and tribulations of paying the bills and, you know, living together and trying to kind of gel in the same house. And throughout everything, family is important and they stick together, regardless of what the case is. So we are in the pre-production for that, and that's what I will be talking to you about with Steph outside of this, because definitely we enjoyed her and her chops. Like, she showed it out that day. Like, I'll never forget that. And actually, you know, that short film is still sitting in the books. It's still sitting there, bro. That was for a film festival contest.
See, man, my kid would love that. My kid would love that.
I owe that to her.
Yeah.
I owe that to her because she traveled to the place. She auditioned. And that's another thing, too, for the class. I don't want to take up too much time. Just put it out.
Just put it out.
Like, just don't worry about the technical stuff. Use resources. Get with people. You will know who's around you, who's going to be there with the ride. Just like your significant other's going to ride with you. You will know once you start reaching out to people, hey, I need you for this. Could you come hold a microphone? Or I need you for this. Can you hold the light? You know, you don't know how to shoot, but can you be an extra? I'll teach you the lines. Mm-hmm. Like, don't be afraid. Don't hold up your future based on the fact you don't have all the intangibles to complete the project.
And you know what?
Complete the project and get it out.
Let me end it like this. I was talking to a close friend of mine, and I told him, you know, if you was to die today, if God gave you this vision for you to go out and do X, Y, and Z, and if you was to die today and go meet your maker, and you're face to face with your maker, having a conversation, what if God was to tell you, you know, I had this opportunity for you to do X, Y, and Z, but because you didn't, you didn't get it. How would you feel at that point? You know, and that's what I will put out to the class when it comes to you being fearful of whether or not you should do this or not do this. How would you feel if you met your maker face to face and your maker said, here was your opportunity, but you didn't do it? You know, so with all of that being said, my brother, I thank you for that. I thank you for all those awesome gems that you dropped. We're definitely going to connect again, and I would love to have you back on the show again.
Hey,
and
man.
We're definitely going to talk about that too.
Listen, I would love to come and bless the Genesis podcast with some of the findings and things, resources I found in this process. Trust me, I'll say this. Half the stuff, and this goes back to IT, half the stuff that I have right now on my system is because I researched and found it.
Yeah.
It's out there.
Yeah.
We're in the information age.
Yeah.
It's out there. So I would love to come in and give tips. We can do a whole, however you want me to do, whatever you need me to do to help the audience out there. I do have a brother that's phenomenal when it comes to marketing. This dude used to work for Nike and Adidas. He has a master's degree in marketing.
I'm going to need you to pass that information along.
I'll pass it along to you.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I'm going to shoot him when we get done. And we'll chop it up. I'm gonna shoot him the call and like, yo, you want to do this the Genesis podcast?
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You know, I'm telling you, the brother, he worked for Nike and Adidas.
That's good, because I do need a teacher or a professor for the marketing class, but that's cool. So let me do this, class. You heard it here from Antanaro Stiger, Professor Antanaro, or Professor Spike Spielberg. He dropped some major jewels. He dropped a lot of great stories for you to pick up and run with later. So with that being said, you know how I always end this. As always, in everything that you do, in everything that you chase after, make sure you chase it with violent action. Class has concluded. I'll see you on the next one.
Peace.
About 15 years ago, I hated where I was at, and I knew that I was meant for more greatness. I wanted to start a business, and I asked my friends and family, how do I start a business? 90% of them never started a business before, and the 10% that didn't remember what they did. So I went on and earned my bumps and bruises from the School of Hard Knocks. My inspiration for the School of Hard Knocks and the courses that I've created was to reach people that felt the same way that I felt way back when. Like I was destined for more. The purpose of the Genesis Project podcast was to move those same people towards that greatness with the guest professors that comes to the show and learn from their mistakes. This is a call to action to those who are searching for greatness. Join the School of Hard Knocks by commenting, sharing, subscribing, and get this message out to those searching for greatness. Click on the links in the description to get more information. And everything you do, everything that you chase after with violent action. I'll see you in the hallway.